Radio Rahim with $1 Million Crolla. If they announced you before Khan and Brook, you might have got a bigger ovation than both of them combined.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Listen, it's a big fight, innit? And you saw the turnout today. It's it's great, and it's just, you know what, it feels good to big time boxing and back in Manchester. All the best.
And Manchester's such a fight town. They support their locals, and you are the love of this place. And that's what I mean by you could have gotten the biggest ovation. I don't know if you remember, the first time I ever interviewed you was right here in this building.
Before
Quigg, Frampton.
Wow, yeah, yes. Yeah, it was just, I think it was on the back there, wasn't it? Because the ring was, well, same setup.
Same setup.
No, it's good. There's been a few more times since, but no, it's always good to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you. And I ask you now, with knowing the energy in this town and knowing what it is to be a fighter with a guy that you just cannot stand across the ring from you, how much does that factor into what we're going to see Saturday night?
I think it could be huge. I think that emotions, especially on Kell Brook's side, have got to stay in check. I think Amir seems really cool. He's almost playing the wind-up with him, and he's doing a good job at it as well. But I think, listen, boxing's a sport where you can't fight on emotions. You can't compete on emotions because 9 times out of 10 it'll go wrong. And I think game plan's going to be so important on Saturday. But I think between now and then, it'd be good to watch up behavioural patterns and walk into the ring Saturday night. That fight, I know it's the cheesy line, but that could be won and lost between that first bell going.
Everyone talks about this fight as though it was 10 years ago, even 5, where Amir Khan's got the speed and Brook's got the power, and but I don't think that these two fighters are the same as they were even 3 years ago.
No.
So I mean, you're 35, that's not an old man, but in the sport, you've gone through a lot. What do you see from both of these fighters stylistically now?
That's what I think. It probably makes it harder for this fight to predict now because realistically, we don't know who's got more left. Does the weight taker, it's toll on Kell, but he looked fantastic today. But then how different does he look between now and Friday? Amir's best asset is his speed. For me, Kell's best asset is his timing. They're two factors that do go as you go in your career. So it's sort of who can hold on to their biggest factor the most will be the winner of this fight, in my opinion. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, but listen, Kell looked great then, and Amir looks as fast as ever. So,
Kell Brook's had both of his eyes shattered at a point. Amir Khan's been knocked out more than once. When you go in as a fighter, are you thinking about keeping the eyes protected, the jaw?
Listen, I think no matter what, that's got to be at the back of his mind. It's happened twice, and Amir's that he might not be the biggest one punch hitter, but the speed of shots. They come in 3s and 4s. And then Amir, people will say, he's chin it. I don't believe that's the case whatsoever. Amir, he's been knocked out, yes, but by elite fighters. But still, Kell carries that power. The last thing a fighter does lose is his power. If Kell can time a punch and land clean at all, there's a great chance Amir could touch down. It's just, that sort of just makes it such a great fight because it's so hard to call. There's so many ways how you can see each other fight. I see each other can win the fight. If he was a betting man, it's just not a man. It's just not the kind of fight you'd put a bet on.
Another big fight coming to the shores, at least for the press conference in this coming week, will be Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury. I know, Dillian's a scrappy kind of guy. He's got his own town in Brixton, and I'll be behind him 1,000%. What kind of shot do you give him in that fight?
Listen, I think I've always said from day one, Amir Rahim, I believe that, not just because I know him. Tyson Fury, I fit and focus Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight on the planet, but I do believe in that fight at some point Dillian lands with that left hook or not, and I wouldn't even be, listen, I fancy Tyson Fury to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if he touches down on the way. He's boxing a lot more aggressive now under the Kronk, under Sugar Hill, but I think it's hard to look past Tyson. But the dog in Dillian, the fight, the determination, he'll try and turn that into a dog fight. And I just see Tyson, just good fundamentals, see him home that night and probably inside the distance, but he probably has to touch down on the way.
A guy that everybody, of course, in hindsight after the fact, said that he should have turned it into a dogfight, turned it into a good scrap instead of all of this boxing. Obviously, Anthony Joshua, having lost to Usyk, having to come again and face the same guy, how do you think that fight goes?
And listen, I agree, but that's easier said than done with someone with the feet movement of Alexander Usyk. You know, it's clever and you're wary because you're thinking of coming in and then you're getting hit down the middle with a southpaw backhand. It's how do I think the rematch goes? Listen, I think Anthony Joshua does try and do that, and I believe he has some success. But if the job's not done inside the first 4 rounds, I lean massively towards Usyk, and I think it's hard to look past Usyk in that fight after how the first fight went.
And lastly, now we're talking like way down the line, but if both those predictions come true, we'll see Fury Usyk, which is maybe one of the most complicated, possibly boring or exciting fights we'll ever see. How do you regard that coming?
I believe Alexander Usyk's a special fighter, and his movement causes Tyson problems throughout. But I believe Tyson probably comes from behind, and he gets a stoppage later on. I believe size tells.
And lastly, my man, now that you are on the mic and analyzing, putting your hat on, you're outside of the ring, how's life changed for you?
It's good. I'm still in the gym all the time with the fighters. I've got an handful of fighters I go and help out with the kids. I've got them in now, like, at my amateur club. Boxing is just a huge part of my life, and doing this, talking about the sport, is a huge part of my life. But everyone thinks, you stayed half in shape, you'll come back, but I promise you I won't. I'm happy.
Well, you look happy. I don't think you should come back because you found a life for yourself outside the ring, which is a hard thing for a fighter like most to do. And you are not like most fighters. You're an exceptional guy. It's a pleasure to be back here in Manchester, where it all started for you and I. Radio Rahim with $1 Million, Anthony Crolla.